You think Rolls-Royce is the undisputed king of luxury. You are dead wrong. Right now, billionaires are quietly ditching their $500,000 Phantoms for a car that looks almost identical to a normal Mercedes-Benz. But this car holds a hidden piece of acoustic engineering that actually alters your brainwaves. We live in a weird time. The word luxury has completely lost its meaning. Every car company slaps quilted leather and a giant touchscreen into their cabin, bumps the price by 40 grand, and expects you to be impressed. But true wealth is not about bigger screens. It is about total isolation from the outside world. It is about buying back your peace. If you buy into the hype that premium stitching makes a luxury car, you're being played by marketing departments. Therefore, you stand to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars on depreciating metal that does nothing for your actual well-being. You need to understand the brutal difference between a premium vehicle and a true hyper-luxury sanctuary. This matters right now because the elite are shifting their buying habits entirely. The era of flashy look-at-me wealth is dying fast. We are entering the age of stealth wealth. But to truly grasp why the world's most powerful people are changing their garages, we have to look at the mechanics of silence. Let me tell you about a number, 64, at 70 miles per hour on a highly congested, noisy highway. The interior of a Maybach S680 registers at exactly 64 decibels. That is quieter than a normal human conversation in an empty room. But this silence is not just from pouring heavy glass into the doors. Maybach uses an active noise cancellation system ripped straight from the aviation industry. High-fidelity microphones inside the wheel arches monitor the exact frequency of the road noise constantly. Therefore, the car's 30-speaker sound system pumps inverse sound waves directly into your ears before the road noise even reaches your eardrums. They filled the actual tires with dense acoustic foam to kill the sound of rubber hitting asphalt. They laminated the windows with an infrared reflective coating to block out sound and heat. But total silence can actually make humans feel sick. It creates a vacuum pressure feeling in your inner ear. Therefore, Maybach engineers tuned a subtle, highly specific acoustic frequency into the cabin to trick your brain into feeling relaxed. This acoustic manipulation literally lowers your resting heart rate. But you might think that makes it just a quiet S-Class. You are missing the most insane part of the equation. Under the hood of the ultimate Maybach is a massive 6-liter twin-turbo V12 engine. In an era where every single brand is downsizing to small electric motors, dropping a massive V12 into a luxury sedan seems completely absurd. Electric cars are perfectly silent. Therefore, you would assume an electric motor is better for luxury, but electricity lacks soul. A massive combustion engine provides a specific type of gravitational pull, but they do not use this monster engine to go fast. A V12 is inherently perfectly balanced by the laws of physics. There are no dead spots in the engine's rotation. Therefore, there is zero mechanical vibration. You can place a coin on its edge on top of this engine, rev it to the red line, and the coin will not fall over. The engine exists solely so you never feel it working. You do not feel the gears shifting. You do not feel acceleration as a violent jerk backwards. Instead, you feel a relentless, smooth wave of power pulling you forward. But building a smooth engine is only half the battle. You still have to conquer the road itself. This obsession with isolation bleeds directly into how the car moves. Most luxury cars use heavy air suspension to soften bumps after they hit them, but Maybach uses a system that literally predicts the future. The car uses stereo cameras mounted in the windshield to constantly scan the road surface ahead of you. It spots a pothole. Therefore, it adjusts the suspension for that specific wheel in milliseconds before you even hit the defect. The wheel drops into the hole and climbs out, but the cabin stays perfectly level. Physics still exists out in the real world. When a car takes a fast corner, centrifugal force pushes your body heavily to the side. Therefore, Maybach added a curve inclination function. The car actively leans into corners, exactly like a motorcycle. It tilts the heavy steel body up to 3 degrees inward. Therefore, the lateral force on your body is almost completely erased. Your coffee stays completely still. It feels like you are gliding on thick ice. You are probably asking yourself a highly logical question right now. Why not just buy a Rolls-Royce Ghost? They are both famously quiet. They both float over bad roads. But Rolls-Royce carries heavy psychological baggage. When you drive a Rolls, everyone on the street looks at you. People take photos. People judge you instantly. It screams for attention. Maybach took a completely different route to the top. 20 years ago, Maybach tried to build massive, highly unique cars to fight Rolls-Royce directly. They created the Maybach 57 and 62, but they failed miserably. The cars were far too bulky. The branding was confusing. Therefore, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars and killed the brand entirely in 2012. But they brought it back with a brilliant new strategy. They built the modern Maybach on the skeleton of a standard Mercedes S-Class. To the untrained eye, it blends perfectly into daily traffic, but to the person sitting inside, it is a private jet on wheels. Therefore, it is the ultimate tool for stealth wealth. You can park it anywhere. You do not draw a massive crowd. You just disappear. 10 years ago, the average luxury car buyer was 60 years old. Today, massive wealth is generated overnight in technology and digital markets. The new billionaire is 35. This younger generation does not want their grandfather's idea of luxury. They do not want heavy wood polish to look like plastic. They want cutting-edge technology. They want ultimate efficiency. But they also want security, above all else. Walking out of a restaurant into a massive, flashy car makes you an immediate target. Therefore, the wealthy are actively hiding their money in plain sight. The Maybach is the ultimate armor. It looks like an expensive airport taxi to a thief on the street, but inside, it rivals a 5-star hotel room. Let us look at the paintwork. A 2-tone paint job on a Maybach takes an entire week to complete. It is not done on a standard automated assembly line. The car is pulled off the main line and sent to a specialized custom shop. The dividing line between the two massive colors has to be exactly 4 millimeters thick. It is painted completely by hand by a master craftsman. If the painter's hand shakes even a fraction of a single millimeter, the entire car has to be sanded down and started completely over. But standard luxury cars just use cheap vinyl tape to separate colors. Maybach sands the transition line down so perfectly smooth that if you run your bare fingernail across the split, you cannot feel the seam at all. Therefore, the paint looks exactly like wet liquid glass. But we need to talk about the back seat. This is the detail that actually separates the pretenders from the kings. You do not open the doors yourself. You press a tiny button on the roof. Silent electric motors swing the heavy rear doors open for you. You sit down, but the seat does not just recline backwards. It mimics the exact zero-gravity position developed by NASA for astronauts. This takes all pressure entirely off your lower spine. It has calf rests that actively massage your legs. Therefore, your blood circulation actually improves while you sit completely still in dead city traffic. They went even further. They added in-seat acoustic resonators. When you play music, you do not just hear it through the air. You feel the bass perfectly calibrated, vibrating through your actual bones. Between the rear seats, there is a heavily insulated, silver-plated champagne fridge. It comes with custom silver flutes. But a glass flute will inevitably rattle in a moving car. Therefore, they designed the flutes to snap seamlessly into a magnetic base in the center console. Your expensive drink will never spill. It will never rattle. Even the leather is completely different from a normal expensive car. They source the hide strictly from bulls raised at extremely high altitudes. High altitude means there are absolutely no mosquitoes. Therefore, there are no bug bites, scratch marks, or tiny imperfections in the leather at all. The chemical tanning process takes weeks to finish. Every single stitch across the massive dashboard is done by human hands. Even the air you breathe inside this cabin is highly engineered. The car has its own dedicated perfume atomizer, hidden in the glove box. It runs the heavily polluted outside air through massive medical-grade HEPA filters, ionizes it to kill all bacteria, and infuses it with a subtle agarwood scent. Therefore, every single time you step inside the car, it smells exactly the same, regardless of what terrible polluted city you are currently driving through. They spent months just engineering the exact sound the heavy metal seatbelt buckle makes when it clicks into place. It has to sound solid. It has to sound overwhelmingly expensive. This level of neurotic, clinical obsession is what you are actually paying for when you wire $500,000 to a dealership. We have finally reached the ultimate question. Does all this obsession with extreme engineering actually dethrone Rolls-Royce? The answer is yes, but not for the reason you think. Rolls-Royce is a spectacular, massive monument to tradition. It is built entirely to impress the people looking at the outside of the car. It is a theatrical performance for the public. But the Maybach is built entirely to serve the strict biology of the person sitting inside the car. The Rolls-Royce makes a loud, unavoidable statement. Therefore, it draws eyes from every direction. The Maybach uses invisible technology, psychological stealth, and sensory manipulation to make the public completely disappear from your reality. True luxury is the absolute absence of friction. It is a machine designed not to command the world's attention, but to grant you complete immunity from it. Subscribe if you want to understand the hidden mechanics of the world's most elite brands.